Hi, everyone. Are we going? Hi, everyone. My name is Phil Unger, and I welcome you all to our Masterclass today with Lady Jeanne Galway. It is an honor for the Flute Center to host this event. Lady Galway is a true champion of the flute, giving her time to teach and promote the instrument that we all so love. You can find her traversing the world as a flute soloist and chamber musician. She also serves as a mentor to many young flutists all around the world, as well as performing her Herculean task of managing and organizing a demanding concert schedule for both her and her husband, Sir James. Be sure to check out their websites, First Flute and the Galway Flute Academy. Lady Jeanne, thank you for your presence here today. And without further ado, I present Lady Jeanne Galway. Okay, thanks, guys.
Accent will come out more and more. I started the flute when I was 10. I'm a product of the free music education system in America, which is why my husband and I both champion music education, which is why we're here today. And why we travel the world doing this also, and try to work with the governments on this also. We work very hard on your behalf so that you can all, and that the future generations can have music education. When I was 17, I came to New York City. It was my dream. I studied in New York City, and my teacher, who I told me that was where I had to go if this is what I really wanted to do. And if I wanted to follow my dreams, that I was to audition for every orchestra in New York and to create my own chamber concerts and to do and just involve myself in music. And I got a job supporting myself at Lincoln Center, at working, showing people to their seats at with the New York Salon. It was the greatest thing in my life. It was a great flute section. It was a flute section led by Julius Baker, who loved that he had a 17-year-old flute fanatic sitting there so he could try out head joints and Afternoon of a Fawn all the time on different head joints. And there I was saying, I think that one sounds good. And I watched him play every day. And I heard these great conductors and these great pianists and these wonderful, I mean, Horowitz was there, Pavarotti was there. It was a time when the music scene was bursting in New York City, and I'd sneak all my friends into all the concerts. So if there was a horn concerto, it was filled with horn players, and it was a great education because it was music, and I heard symphonies, and I heard soloists, and I watched, and I looked, and I learned, and that I think has been a big part of my music education. I also had the opportunity that I had, my teacher was a student of Marcel Moïse's. So hence I learned about this great flute tradition of French flute playing from Marcel Moïse, and we used to go up to Brattleboro, Vermont, where Moïse held his master classes. And some in the rooms might remember that. He was, I believe, 91. And there was Marcel Moïse, and he was smoking a pipe, and he had this tarnished flute between his leg there and sat there, and he still played. And he always talked about the music, the life. It was one of the first times I heard the name James Galway mentioned. And he talked about this flutist who just played, when he played the slow movement of the Mozart Flute and Harp Concerto, there was nothing like it. And then I had somebody come and bring me a record of James Galway, and I listened. I heard this sound. And listened to many flutists. There, Jean-Pierre Raval was here in New York at that time giving concerts, and he was giving all the different concerti, and he was giving a series of master classes at the 92nd Street Y. So many of us, my generation, the golden generation, not the golden age generation, the golden age of the flute generation in New York, we were just immersed in this. So this is, I believe, what we're trying to do today and what the Flute Center is doing. So we have, I think we should first pay homage to Phil and the team here for what the Flute Center does with bringing you all live streamed and here in New York, this Salon series. So can we just give them a Phil?
Thank you.
So that's a little bit about about my story, and I just continued learning the flute, but I focused, I think the difference with me and what happens today a lot with students was at the time when we were learning the flute, we learned with one teacher. And we stayed with that teacher. There was no switching, and there was no that you had 3 teachers your first year in school. And sometimes you didn't like it. You got with a teacher maybe you didn't want. But we were told to really just focus and to stay the course is really what I'm saying. So this is where my teaching comes from. And then fast forward, I meet this person who plays the flute. And I met James Galway when he came to Julius Baker's Masterclass. Barbara was there at that class, and you remember he came and it was I'm going to tell you, most of you weren't born. 1978, and he was making his debut in America, and we couldn't wait to meet this person because that sound in the Berlin Philharmonic, it just had such life. It was what Moise talked about. It was what this book is about, and it's what we're going to talk about today. You know, the music, the life in the sound, how to get your sound out there, how to get these colors, how to feel confident. That's a big part of what we're going to talk about. And just really, and how to work on the techniques that will give you the ability to keep improving within yourself and to know how to do that and what to listen for. And I think that's what the great teachers will teach you. And so I've had the opportunity, I've been for 36 years by the side of James Galway. As he says, 24 hours a day. If you're traveling to Japan, it's probably 36 hours a day. I listen to this man play the flute all the time and how he practices and his philosophy. And it is, it's a philosophy of enjoying life, being grateful for what he has, for what we have, and just enjoying the music. And I've also learned over the years, sitting with many, many flute makers. We were just talking about the story with us with the Muramatsu family, and how I think I lived with the Japanese for a long time when I first got married, practically with the team of Mr. Sony, Mr. Sakabi, the other older Mr. Muramatsu, because we would work on improving the instrument that you have in your hands today. And I think that these flute players, like my husband, have worked very hard with how the flute is for you. And many flutists have, because they don't just improve it for themselves, but hopefully they improve it for you. So with that, that's a little bit of my history. And so when I talk today teaching, it's from real experience. It's from the experience that I've had to learn how to juggle my practice with everything else, and it has to be practice. It has to be playing on a very, very high level all the time, because there's no room for mistakes. And it's not always so. It's not an artist's dream to stand there for almost 1.5 hours waiting to go and play your 1 6-minute piece on the stage and walk off, or a 10-minute piece. And sometimes this is my situation. But I listen, I enjoy, and I know how to be on the road and how to work my practice. So that's why I like working a lot with adults. This is called an adult class, but we kind of changed it because there's really no boundaries in playing music. We all just love the flute, and I want to help you improve. And so what I have learned is by listening. I've been listening how my husband practices, how to practice on the road, and how to take all these, all these books we have. You look around, you see all these flutes. Well, behind there are all those books, or maybe all flutes. There are so many books, right, on playing the flute. But they're all based on basically a few notes, right? So we have to learn how to understand these patterns within the music. And that's what I want to work on today. How that you can recognize, oh yes, that's only a D major arpeggio. But see, you have to practice those arpeggios. And practicing the arpeggios, I love arpeggios. We were just saying that, right, Barbara? Yeah. Arpeggios are great. And because they're those chords that we don't learn that on the flute. We learn note, note, note. When we first learn the flute, some of us are small, some of us are older, but we just we just blow. We take a breath, we blow, we kind of figure out how to hold it because it's very awkward. And then we put our fingers down. So the lips are not taught to work with the fingers. The breathing is not taught from the very beginning to work with the lips and the fingers, and we're not taught to hold it. So one of the things we're going to work on today, the first thing is what I learned from a lot of teachers, the really great players, about, I was going to right away say not moving, but that'll come. You'll hear that throughout the session. But really how to hold the flute. And there was, I remember, what I really remember when I first saw my first symphony orchestra, I was a little older. It was when I was 16. It was my teacher playing. It was the Long Island Philharmonic. I thought it was the greatest orchestra in the world. Probably was for me. And this teacher was great. She had a silver cow flute and a red sports car. And I thought, I want to have a silver flute and I want a red sports car. Well, now I've got both. No, but I worked for that silver flute. I got my first Haynes flute, and I still have that Haynes flute. It's a wonderful flute. And when I was dating my husband, he gave it to Cooper, and Cooper changed it a little. Don't tell Haynes. It's a great flute, though. Ellen knows. It's wonderful. Anyway, so I have given you some tone exercises here. So, you know, I think when we talk about playing music and playing the flute, if we were to ask each person, why did you take the flute? It would probably be the same answer, right? Well, for me, it was because I couldn't take the trombone. But it's true. I wanted to play the trombone because I wanted to stand in the front of the band and lead the band. And I want to stand in the back. I was marching band stuff from Long Island. I didn't want to stand in the back playing the flute with the girls. I wanted to lead, you know. But anyway, the flute found me. And so why did you take the flute? What attracted you to the flute?
I like the sound.
That brings us to exercise number 1. Right, the sound, okay? So, how do we get a good sound on the flute? Practice, right? We have to learn how we use this embouchure, right? And to work with it each day, and the focus of the fact that the idea is that the airstream has to go into the flute. It has to really be focused into the flute, but there has to be just this little bit of movement. But at the same time, we must be holding, and this is really important, because we don't have the hours that we would like to work, although we can continue this another time, that the flute must really be here, very solid. You know, I always say that we were made to play the flute, because we all have an indentation under our lip. And no matter how your lips are, you can decide whether the edge of the lip plate or the embouchure hole will go a little bit on the top of the lip or just below. But it has to go firm here. And we believe, that I have learned that works, that there are 3, let's all take our flutes if you have one. To hold the flute, very important. I think some of you know this. We have some people here that I think I've known for how many years?
10.
That's all?
Yeah.
Oh, you're young. No, 10 years of learning. So when we hold the flute, we want to make sure that it's steady. And there are 3 contact points with the flute. We have the right hand, the left hand, and the lips here. So what we want to think about is how we hold the flute. So can everyone take their flute like this and put their thumb like that on the B flat key. Now take your right thumb. And this is really important if you're teaching. Just put your flutes down for a second. We know that with younger students, okay, it is very hard to hold the flute with the right hand, and that they want to make it like this, a shelf. And one of the things that's hard is to get that flute behind and to push it forward. And it was when I watched Julius Baker up very close, and I saw this incredible control over the holding of the flute when I was only 17, that I thought, I want this. And I went home, and I got an orange. I can't believe this. And I put a mirror up on the door. I think they didn't like in my family that I hammered it myself in the wrong door. But anyway, and I got an orange, because I had one of these right hands that was like this. Because I didn't learn when I was young, or when I say young, I mean when I first started young playing the flute. So I didn't know how to push from behind. Because you see, if we push from behind, So anyway, to finish that story, I got an orange and I practiced all summer. I drove my sister crazy with an orange like this because I wanted to get that arch in the hand. Now, had someone explained to me the way James Galway explained to me many years later, that you take your thumb and you push from behind. So you get this kind of leverage movement like this all the time. And if you're moving forward and backwards, you won't go like this, and you won't be going up and down all the time, because every time you move, you cut your air supply and you take your embouchure just a little bit further away from your lips. And the last thing we want is the embouchure hole to move from the lips, because you just spent all those hours trying to practice, trying to get it in the right place. So let's go look at this again. So we have number 1, we put our thumb like this. Number 2, we take our thumb. Now, it's on a little bit of the edge point, so you're pushing from behind. It's kind of like this. Everyone go like that with the right hand. That's it. So this is on your F key, your first key of your right hand, and you're pushing from behind a little bit between the F and this, I call it the F sharp, and you're pushing there. Okay, so you've got here, you take your thumb, turn your flute around. So 1, 2, 3, bend the wrist under. You have to bend the wrist just slightly so that we can get these shorter fingers to go right over the key, so that you're not playing like this. Okay? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, when it's up at 5, you see how I can do this? What I've got here is I'm leaning below. That's right, you're fine. Yeah, that's it, exactly, exactly. Now, if you're just starting the flute, I used to say, some of my students, it sounds silly, to find the center, take the embouchure hole up on your lip, just go like that, all the way up, roll it. Yeah. Cover it.
Oh, okay.
Feel the center. Roll it down. There you go. That's, you feel how that you find it? Yeah. Okay? Very good. Very good. Okay? So now, here's what you want to be able to do. You want to push the right hand forward and the left hand back, so that that is stable without doing anything. You see? I could play a whole piece just going like this, right? Because what you're seeing here is you're seeing one unit. And if you look at players, you'll see what attracts you is that when you see this connection between them and the instrument, you want to see that strength. The audience picks up on that strength. The audience picks up on every little thing you do. Everything. And you pick up on it too. Your brain picks up on it. You know, so you want this, if you want calmness within your playing and to be in control of what you're doing in your practice, in front of people, because that's the idea, in front of your dog or whoever likes to listen. My dog didn't, he used to howl all the time, but he howled even without the flute. So the position is so important, so important. So the idea is that the thumb is straight. This way you can move back and forth. This kind of just like a shelf, there. So you see this position here, okay? I bend my wrist so that I get under the flute, and the right thumb pushes forward. So eventually, that's it, with your thumb, what you'll do, we'll work on that later, because you're just starting, so, yeah, I know, it's very tricky when you're starting, okay? So there you go. All right, so everybody just do that without the fingers. And a little pressure below on the chin. Right. There you go. Do you feel the strength you get from that? So then when you're a bit nervous and you're on stage, you're not going to be feeling like everything's slip-sliding away. And when it gets hot under those lights, it slips and it slides. You know, I don't have a beard that holds it. And also this flute doesn't have the engraving on that, it holds it better. But anyway, and sometimes you will be playing and it gets really wet. right? You have a little beard, so it helps. It helps a bit,
Yeah,
doesn't it? Yeah. That's why you've got a beard now, Lorenzo. But it does slide, and sometimes you're playing and like it's all the way over the place, and you can't be sitting on stage going, you know. I can't stand it when I watch people like go. Well, no, I see people like sweating on the stage, dropping on the floor. You know, it's like the audience wants to think that you're always calm and in control. So, but one of the ways you do it, and one of the ways you learn to be centered within your practice. We're not talking about playing at Carnegie Hall now. We're talking about being in that practice room and being in your room, in your private space. Very important that you have your private space. Your private space with a mirror, good lighting, music stand, metronome, flute. Very important, don't forget the flute. I'm forever walking around going, where did I put my flute? And my house is very easy. You can just pick one up. No, I'm kidding. Okay, so you have a good position. Very important. So you have this alignment. Now standing is very important too. I always stand when I practice. Always, because if I sit, I don't support as well here. And because I'm a woman also, I have to work maybe a little bit harder than these guys do. Maybe not, I wouldn't know because I'm not a guy. But I have to work on some good deep breathing. Because my natural way of breathing is high. Because I speak higher and everything goes a little bit more up here. So I have to work hard for myself on breathing low. And also because I didn't learn it when I was 10 years old. I had smaller lungs, and no one talked about breathing on the flute. They were happy if you got a sound and you didn't drop your flute in the band. Yeah, we all know that, right, teachers? When you have students who drop their flutes on the floor, or foot joints that fall off. Yeah, that happened to me recently, right at the end of a concert of my gold flute. Okay, never mind. Anyway, it was wet, and it just, you know, the gold tendons, they're very thin. So when we stand, and I'm sorry if I'm repeating to some of you people that come to Switzerland, but it's always good to hear.
It's always good.
It's always good to hear, right, Giorgio?
Yeah, oh,
there
yeah.
you go, okay. So when you stand, so we have our flute. Also, when you're in front of people on stage, if you are, no matter when you're playing, or not even on stage, if you're playing in your local church or something, try to do a little movement as possible. All right? Remember, the idea is, because they're just sitting in their chairs. You know, they're sitting in their chairs and they're not moving around, hopefully, you know, because you know how distracting it is when people move. They're sitting there and you're playing a beautiful, slow movement, you know. And the worst thing you want to do is, you know, so, and I've seen, and you have all seen soloists that are very, I don't know, moving a lot, you know, like just jittery on stage or something, or fixing this or fixing that, and you never fix anything. Once you're up there, that's it. You know, I mean, I was doing something with my husband, and I was practicing flat shoes. And so we had the rehearsal, it was a concerto, and I practiced in flat shoes. But what I never thought to check was the stage. The stage has an apron, and they have metal rims in between, in the platform where they put it together. So I'm playing away, and I move a little bit, only a little bit, because I'm not allowed to move, and my heel gets stuck in the metal rim, and I feel it. And it's like the beginning of the movement, you know, so then I'm really stuck, I really can't move. And so, every time I had it, and I'm on a beautiful long gown, you know, all dolled up there, and I'm trying to go, very discreetly, because I know I'm going to have to move at one point and get off the stage, and my shoe is really stuck, and so I'm going like this, and finally I went like this, and I leaned into my husband, and he says in the middle of the thing, "What are you doing?" It was as if we were home. So in emergency situations, it's okay, but what I've learned now is to check the floor on the stage. Okay, so always check your surroundings. We'll talk about the performing a little bit later. Okay, we're going to talk about standing. Can everybody stand, please? When we stand, because the body is not perfectly symmetrical here, we believe, because the flute goes to the left, that we put the left foot, flute goes to the right, excuse me, my flute goes to the right. Left foot forward, right foot back. This way, when you move, you're moving forward and back with the rhythm. Because if you start moving to the side, you're throwing off the balance of the flute. Think about it, because as you know anyway, the flute is heavy on this side and there's nothing over here, and you have your left arm coming over. You're trying to keep your shoulder down, and so if you move this way, you start moving your breathing apparatus. And your head will follow, and it will go off of here ever so slightly. So then when you go to get your lower note, why didn't it come out? And it was ever so slightly, ever so slightly. You know, a friend of mine was talking about, just keep standing, it's good for you. A friend of mine is a pilot, and he says, you know, when he's flying, if it's 1 degree off, it's okay in the beginning, but if he stays at that 1 degree, by the time he gets to the airport, it's not going to be near where he needs to be. So, you know, that's what we want to avoid. We want to help ourselves, and little things like that help us. We are Olympic athletes training, and an Olympic athlete or any kind of athlete trains very seriously. They have to do their movements, their stretches, and everything like that, and that's what we do. So the position is very important, and this kind of position can be used when we sit. We're going to show that with Sasha when she comes up, how to sit on a chair. Put our left foot forward. We take our flute. I always think we take it up. We bring the flute to us, we don't go to the flute. You've heard that one many times, right, Barbara? The flute comes to us. I push from behind. That's it. So the left foot is forward. My husband says he leans on the back hip. I can't do that because I'm sometimes in high heels. So I use my toe. I use the ball of my left foot as my balance, and it holds me every time. And I used to be the one whose knee never stopped shaking when she played in front of people. I had this knee, it always shook. And it was just, anyway, it doesn't shake today. All right, so everybody, we have this nice exercise here. Does anybody have it in front of them? This is an exercise, which is not yet on the website. It is copyrighted, by the way. This is a variation on the Moise sonority. It starts on B natural, goes to A sharp. But we incorporate an arpeggio in the middle of that, okay? So we warm up always like singers. So we don't just play a note and expect it to change, okay? We have to just keep, let's all just pretend we're over there at the opera, okay? So let's all warm up with it vocally. Da, 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 da. Very good, wonderful. Oh, I love it when we hear baritones. Come on, yes, very good. Now, good. You see, I knew that we had our expert came from Russia all the way. Great. Okay, so da, da, so that's what we have to do with the flute. We just don't go. No, 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 because we don't hold the note and expect it to change. Okay, we don't expect it to change. We change the note. So when we play, we warm up low notes, high notes. Everyone on a B natural, low notes, high notes, more. Up the octave. Good. Now, as you are warming up, I just did that fast, but as you're warming up, the idea is, you can sit for a second. The idea is that each note, we're trying to create, each note, we're trying to create something very special. Each note. So when we warm up first, we want to engage ourselves right away with this. So we take our, every time it's da, 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 we're opening our throat. So what I'm doing is right away, I have in my mind the sound that I want. The sound that I want when I go to play the opening of the Four-Ray Fantasy. You know, when I go to play the Four-Ray Fantasy, it starts on a B natural, right? And it starts piano. So right away everyone goes, you know. Of course, we practice how to get that piano. It's fine. But so we want to have that beautiful sound all the time. So we want to incorporate this in our practice, and this is where we save the time. And this is where, for you adults, this is your key. not just for adults, for everyone. It's that we right away within the warm-up, we don't accept anything. Look, sometimes we're all tired, you know? I mean, I get off long airplane rides and you get to practice. That's what you do. Or you get to a theater that has no acoustics, you know, or you're practicing in a small little closet, not closet. I haven't practiced in a closet. I go to practice in the bathrooms on the tour, but they have good acoustics. But you know how when there's a lot of carpeting, maybe you're in a beautiful home, maybe you're in a small little studio apartment, and it has carpeting, and then the sound will go into that material. It won't just, it's not like playing in a beautiful church in the middle of Milan, is it? Where you're going to, or San Gimignano, where you're going to sound great all the time. Okay, so we have to, so you have tried to create that ring within your sound immediately. Okay, so if I'm going to play a note, you see immediately how I go to that? I go immediately to that, and I pull myself from the hips. And my support is here. My movement comes from my hips. You see? We're swingers. Lots of flute players. Galway Academy flute players. And Flute Center. You see? And right away, I'm checking my position. And what I notice lots of times is the left shoulder's up. It's a lot better than when I was young now, I can tell you. So I notice these kinds of things. You see, I'm going for something right away. Right away, I'm engaged. And you can see, right, with my eyes, right? I'm right in there. I'm right there. Why? Because I don't have time to mess around, as they say. I just don't have the time anymore. When I was younger in school, I used to just practice. I think I used to practice this sonority for an hour. It was just because I had the time. But I can do today what I did then. Because right away, when I do it, if it's not working, and I don't get upset with myself. Because there's no time for me to get upset with myself anymore. I've done that for years. I don't have to do that anymore. You know, we don't have to. And if it's not working one day, people say, oh, but I had a great sound yesterday. That's right. And you know what? You'll probably have it in another 10 minutes. But if we get upset with ourselves and think it's not working, or if maybe we're on a high level and have a competition or something, pull it back and do the simple things. Do the simple things, do an exercise like this. So I want to quickly, before we go to our first performer, speak about this nice daily routine. Sir James one day I was teaching some students in our home, and we were downstairs and we were doing sonority, and he came down with a piece of paper. He said, I wrote this for your students. Lorenzo, play us the exercise.
Okay. Listen.
Yeah, come on up. You know how it plays. Oh, you can stay there. Now play it with more of a mezzo forte. Good, thank you. And do you hear what that, and so Lorenzo, when you play this exercise, what do you think of?
About playing legato.
Yeah?
And about getting in this case, the C sharp.
C sharp, because he's heard it every day in the class about the C sharp. Yeah, because the interval, so instead, in the Moïse sonority, which is absolutely great. Let me explain what this is. It's Mr. Marcel Moïse. He was a little older when I met him. Okay, this is my famous book that's falling apart. And the first one, he talks about the fact that it's very important. This is a tube. We're blowing through a tube. Every time we put our fingers down, we're cutting the tube. So we're cutting the color of the color of the note will change. So what we want to do is we want to make it in our playing to have that fluidity that it goes from note to note without any breaks. We know where the breaks are, but we want to work through that. We want to work it with our slow exercises and with our scales. So when we do this, you know, I'm really going, before I would play that exercise, I would play a couple of them. Da, 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 da. And do you see how I breathe from down here? Ladies, think of breathing into the back. It's a good way to get it out of the chest. Okay, very important. All right, let's try this exercise, okay? The idea is that the whole thing is a B to the A sharp, but the first section is only a turn around the note to and we're caressing each note. So you're feeling the line all the time. Feel the stream of the air. Let's stand and let's do it. Okay? Ready? Play. Very good. Can we just take the first one to the A sharp and just go da da dee da da da. Ready? Play. Once more. Very good. Now we know that D natural is stronger than that C sharp, right? On the flute. Let's get that C sharp a little bit so that it's one line. Let me start da dee da 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 dee da da da. It will naturally do that. So we want to help the C sharp. Da da dee da da da. Help it with the stream of the air. Always the stream of the air moving forward. Did you hear it? Now why did that sound so great? Because you broke up the exercise. Break up your exercises when you practice them, okay? So that this way, always the music. Then when you immediately pick up a piece, the music's going to be there. Instead of thinking, oh God, it took me 8 bars till, it sounded better in my rehearsal. So we just want to get the music flowing all the time. Now let's look at the next section. Start on the A sharp. Would you go in what arpeggio is that? Can you tell me? What are the notes? A sharp, F sharp, C sharp, F sharp, A sharp. Anyone know what arpeggio that is? What chord is that? F sharp. F sharp major. Very good. Okay, and we're starting on the third. Flute players, you've got to learn your chords. You've got to learn your chords, please. Okay, so on the A sharp, dee da 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 dee. And notice if you were to sing it, dee da da. You see how the back drops? It drops, right? Because it's a big interval. So move the embouchure with it. Pull the embouchure, blow down for that C sharp, pull the jaw back. Ready? The second section on A sharp. Very good. Okay, now don't be afraid of the C sharp. People blow less on the C sharp. Pull the jaw back when you go to play that, okay? That was wonderful. And then what did you do different? Hold the jaw back. This is a big muscle here. Yeah. Oh, you like that. She's got new ideas for playing the flute.
The teacher tells me that all the time.
The teacher tells you all the time, okay? Okay, now the whole exercise. Ready? Play. Repeat piano. But keep blowing forward. Keep blowing forward. Nice deep breath. Go on. Nice exercise?
Yes.
Have a seat. One thing, try not, I don't mean to say don't, try not to let the tongue speak louder than the Lots of times when we go to play forte, and I didn't hear it here. I was waiting to hear it, and I didn't. I think we got some good trained people in this class. Yay! Okay. Lots of times when we go to play a loud note, we go ta-da, because we let the air out all at one time. That's why the whole idea is that, whoops, they give me this beautiful pad for my flute, and I don't use it. Okay, so when, just before we start our first performer, can you put your flute somewhere that doesn't fall on the floor? Okay? Do a little breathing. Just last thing, we're gonna breathe. So you have to put your flute somewhere, because you're gonna stand, or you just move your flute. Yeah, that's good. Okay. Let's get into flute position. Stand in a playing position. So left foot forward, right foot back. Can you put your hands here? Okay? And I want you all to face someone. Very good. Always works this way. That's it. Okay. And what you're going to do is we're going to take a breath, and we're going to expand. We're going to expand the lungs down here. Okay? So that without moving the top. But first we're going to, because we want to talk about how to do this. We're going to just go hold, now collapse. Okay? So we're going to breathe. Everyone. And I want you to feel, this is why the hands are in the back here. I want you to feel the expansion here, because then the whole muscle will be moving out. Okay? The whole, you've got your diaphragm, you've got your lungs. It all moves from the front to the back. So we don't have to think. I used to have this flute teacher that we go, and then I'd have to lean the flute case against the wall, you know. And it was really hard. And then I was really tight, and I was tight here, and then I closed my throat and everything. And it doesn't work. Okay? So separate the muscles. So put your hands here, and we want you to expand in the back. So actually, you have to watch each other's back, but you can't do that right now. So just take a big breath, okay? Then exhale first. Inhale. Hold. Now blow out, but keep that muscle strong. Blow a long note. And keep that muscle. Don't collapse. See how much air you have? And you didn't move your shoulders. Now do it with your hands like this. Okay? Same thing. Exhale. Inhale. Yep, we got to inhale down here. Okay? Just because we put our arms up, we don't want to inhale here. Women, we inhale up on top, so we have to really be careful. Push it down and hold it, and then exhale. Okay, exhale. Inhale. Hold it. Now exhale very slowly. Keep that muscle full. Keep that muscle. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. You see how much air you have? Bravo. Now everybody's going to faint. One last thing on breathing. Have a seat before we start. One last thing is that we have what we call a top-up breath. That's the quick breath, right? We need a lot of quick breaths, okay? But what we do is we take a breath, we hold it, and we fill up here. And here's your other trick. You know when you have all those rests, and then you play? Breathe before, during all those rests. Not right before, but we'll work on that with the performers. Okay? Do you have some ideas? Questions? Yes.
What was the Mozart piece you mentioned early? Mozart concerto.
Oh, Mozart concerto. If I did, it would have been probably just a Mozart D major. Yes, Mozart D major concerto, my favorite. Also the G major. Oh no, the Mozart flute and harp. That's what it was. It was the andante of the Mozart flute and harp concerto. That's what it was. Sasha? Sasha, let's welcome Sasha.